Hey guys, Mike here. So obviously SoFi stock had news come out yesterday, and you can probably tell by the chart today it was not good at all, but it shouldn't have shocked anybody. That's what I talked about in the last video about the student loan moratorium. If it did get extended or student loans got canceled or whatever, you know, it was going to be, you know, big negative against SoFi because that's a big business for them, right? So you know, we're going to get into that, get into the charts, and then also talk about something that continues to go against SoFi. And it's not their fault. It just is what it is, right? There's nothing they can do about it. Nothing anybody can do about it. But, you know, I'll show you that as well. And so if you get anything out of it, hit the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate that, guys. And let's go ahead and just get into the news about what came out of Washington, what came out when they downgraded their guidance for 2022, which is never a good thing. And so, of course, President Biden comes out and they've extended the moratorium on student loan payments from May 1st. They kicked the can down the road to August 31st again. And then SoFi had to respond with that by saying, okay, let's go ahead and adjust our net revenue and adjusted EBITDA guidance for full year 22 is going to be 1.47 billion instead of 1.57 billion, and 100 billion for adjusted EBITDA instead of 180 billion. So around 80 billion down on that. They maintain their guidance for adjusted net revenue. But as I told you, when we go to our friends at TipRanks down here, again, if you want to sign up for this, links down at the bottom. You can see right here, immediately, here comes all the analysts out. And you look at that and you think, wow, look, there's still 2 analysts giving it a buy, right? And then 2 holds. But with this tool right here, what you can do is just go over to the right there and click this little thing. It looks like a paper icon to the right. And you'll see right here, actually, Wedbush lowered their price target from 20 to 15. So that's a big drop there. The next one up, they actually just talked about EBITDA being cut. They didn't really do much over there at Morgan Stanley. They've already cut the price target to 10. And SoFi here, this one actually cut it from 18 to 13, and the last one ends up cutting it from 14 to 12. If we go over there and check out the news sentiment, you'll see right away that obviously the news sentiment turned negative with a quickness. And so, but you see actually for the sector is actually still somewhat positive at 62% bullish news right there. And then if we go over to see insider buying, since the stock's been dropping, like have they been jumping all over it with informed buy? And you can see the answer is absolutely no. No insider has bought for 3 weeks on an informed buy. They're just using all the stock options, which I've already addressed already, for the company to buy the stock and stuff like that. And so I don't know why they're not jumping on it, but that's usually a red flag when you see the stock dropping this much and not even the CEO's coming out and doing an informed buy like he was doing before. And that's one problem when you have a lot of stock compensation for your executives. Remember, theirs is way out of whack compared to their competitors, and going up again this year, projected to, is because they don't have to use their own money, you know, to come out and do an informed buy, where they're just like what the CEO did, he was taking his own money and actually purchasing the stock outright versus using the options and then selling stock to cover the taxes, which that's what you see a lot of going on right there. And so some people in the market, you know, especially institutions, can take that and go, oh, wow, look, they're not even when the stock gets down to in the 7s, they're not even trying to buy then. They're just using their options, and then they're selling the stock, which doesn't help, to cover some of the taxes. And so, you know, that becomes an issue. But, you know, again, the analysts, you see the price targets get knocked down, which I knew as soon as this got extended, that was what was going to happen. I think none of us are surprised about that. The biggest thing, too, it really sucks for SoFi, is what I said in the last video, uncertainty, right? The market hates uncertainty. What do we got in student loans now? More uncertainty, because now the can is kicked down the road to August 31st. So we get to go through all this again come August 31st. Instead of doing what I agree with the CEO of SoFi said, target the people that really can't make the payments, right? I can make my payments. There's just hundreds of thousands of people that can make their payments, right? But instead it was just a blanket moratorium. So here we go. Okay, but looking at the chart here, obviously you can see the gap down from today. You see the drop down in the last 3 days. And so, you know, that right there, you're looking at around, what was it? At the low, around 12.5% it went down on the day. And I'll tell you right now, when it dropped and it came back, only got 6.5% down for the day. But when it dropped below, if you want to call that support over there, that's where it bounced last time, because there's no other support lines below this at all, because it is a SPAC. So $10 was the floor there for a while. When it started dropping below, I was like, oh my God, because there's nothing down there to prevent it to come back up. But somebody started buying, and pushing it right back up. So let us know in the comments if you were one of those folks pushing it back up. But you can see you got, you know, a gap here that's got to be filled. You got a gap right above that, it's got to be filled. And then if you look above that, just a ton of resistance. And so of course, a lot of work to do on the chart, a lot of work for the stock to do if it's going to push back up. Because if tech continues to sell off, the market continues to sell down. Remember, we got CPI data coming out next week. That could be rough. But the other thing that just continues to not only affect SoFi, but these other stocks is what's happening to fintechs. Remember, SoFi comes out, gets the bad news. But look at the other fintechs. I showed you this every time I've done a SoFi video. They go hand in hand. It seems like no matter what's happening, right? And you can see right here, SoFi gets the bad news, it drops, but all of a sudden, here comes Square, boom. It actually dropped even farther than SoFi did today. And then it all start rallying together. You know, PayPal actually ended up doing the best, of course, but you can just see right there, I mean, they move, it's hand in hand, all right? And so, you know, PayPal ends up a little positive, Lending Club makes a nice little comeback. They all turn at the exact same time, which is like around 12:48 or something like that. And you can see that clear as day with those patterns, right? They go down, then they go up. If one has bad news, it drags all the rest of them down, you know. And so you saw plain as day in that chart, they recovered right at the same time. And at the end of the day, in the last like 15 minutes, they all sold off, right, on heavy volume. And so, you know, it's I don't know when that's going to end. Obviously, institutions are doing that. Eventually, that pattern has to break, and they all got to become their own separate entities and function on their own news and what happens during their earnings. And so that's the problem coming up with earnings season, right? Well, if we go through earnings next time with these companies, you know, if Square reports a bad earnings, what's going to happen to all the other fintechs? Probably going to sell off. That's what happened last time during earnings. So, you know, that's a problem, right? So if you see it down, I got a watch list just for fintechs. I just pull it and go, oh, I see why it's down. I don't see any SoFi news. I don't see any Square news. Must be one of the others, and it usually is. And so, and the problem is in the fintech space, they're all so different, right? I mean, yeah, I know 75% of SoFi's revenue is from lending, so maybe Lending Club's about the closest you can go, but they're nowhere, I mean, they're totally different from Square or PayPal, and, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. But so that's what's happening. You know, so if you ever wondered that, like, why is SoFi down today? There's no bad news out there. Well, one of the other fintechs probably has some bad news. And it's going to be a very interesting earnings season next time. Obviously, we're about to start kicking that off, but it'll be a while for SoFi reports again. But, you know, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that goes. So, you know, and then, of course, now, like I said, with the uncertainty, making this to August 31st, are they going to push it into next year? Who knows? I mean, at this point in time, I don't put anything past anybody, and I don't think anybody could come out and say, you know, what they're really going to do. So that's where SoFi is at. I will say, you know, as a side note, not to upset anybody or anything like that or ruffle feathers, but I just kind of noticed this is, you know, since I'm in the YouTube world, like, you know, just be careful if you're watching a channel that all they do is cover one stock, like their channel is literally Palantir, SoFi, Tesla, whatever it is, you know, and it's based off that. You know, if they aren't giving you the pros and the cons, you know, you might want to be careful on that. If you need somebody to sit here and stroke your back to make you feel better about your investment, to hold on to it, then yes, the channels that do nothing but talk about the pros and never about the cons, and if a con comes out, they try to twist it and make it sound all great or something. You know, you might want to be careful on that because, like, you know, if you had a grocery store and all you sold was bananas, right? And you got to ask yourself this. And a study came out showing there's a chemical in bananas that causes an increase in cancer of like 25%. You know, are you really going to tell your customers that? You know, or if they come start to ask you, are you really going to be like, oh, yep, it's true? You know, I mean, most people will not. Why? Because you'll probably, you know, lose your business, your house, everything else along with it, because you only have one product in the store, right? But there's a reason why those channels exist. It's because of the YouTube algorithm. That's why they exist. People figured it out. And so, because when you do a channel like this or like many others where your content is broken up into different things, it messes it up. Stuff doesn't get pushed, right? I just saw something pop in my feed where Meet Kevin now, he's going to do like 3 other channels because he knows what's happening. He's all over the place and it messes up. That's why his views, or kind of do this right here, and some get massive amounts of views, some don't, because of the YouTube algorithm. That's why he's creating different channels. I've thought about it for a long time. And it's like, God, I don't know. And we'll see. I'm going to have to figure that out because, you know, it kind of sucks. That's the way it works, but that's the way it works. And so, anyway, Hope you got something out of it. Hit the like, subscribe button if you did, guys. Let me know what you're doing out there with SoFi. Did you buy today and you plan on buying, or you just kind of waiting and seeing what happens? And so I'll end up seeing you guys this weekend. So have a good one.